Indigenous peoples are distinct social and cultural groups that share collective ancestral ties to the lands and natural resources where they live, occupy, or from which they have been displaced. The land and natural resources on which they depend are inextricably linked to their identities, cultures, livelihoods, as well as their physical and spiritual well-being.
Indigenous people of the Philippines. The Philippines consists of numerous upland and lowland indigenous ethno-linguistic groups living in the country, with Austronesians making up the overwhelming majority, while full or partial Negritos scattered throughout the archipelago. The Igorot, Lumad, and Mangyan figure for the indigenous people of the Philippines has yet arrived, and it is estimated that the country's indigenous population in between 10% and 20% of the national population, which currently stands at around 102.9 million.
There are estimated 14 million indigenous peoples in the country. The indigenous peoples in the Philippines also face many challenges in the context of development, peace, security, and human rights. Indigenous peoples is facing poverty as well as discrimination. There's a research that shows the indigenous people have long been suffering from discrimination and lack of access to education. Indigenous peoples are not free even if they live in our communities. They continue to suffer from harassment such as racism and body shaming because of their color of their skin and etc. But how we can help to stop this? Let's stop the discrimination and help them get out of poverty. And the government, through the Department of Education, must develop curriculum to focus the right and peace to the indigenous people to have education, because education is the key to claim their right, because they do not know even their basic right.
I support indigenous people anywhere in the planet.
I support the indigenous people anywhere in the planet.
I support indigenous people anywhere in the planet.
I support indigenous people anywhere in the planet.
I support the indigenous people anywhere in the planet.
I support the indigenous people anywhere in the planet.
I support the indigenous people anywhere in the planet.
I support the indigenous people
I support the indigenous people anywhere in the planet.
I support the indigenous people anywhere in the planet.
And that's the end of our video presentation. We will now begin our discussion, which is indigenous people in Central Philippines. These are the learning objectives. At the end of the discussion, learners should identify the different indigenous people in Central Philippines, identify the significance of studying indigenous people, particularly in the Philippines, understand its literature and arts, and lastly, to appreciate the different group of indigenous people in Central Philippines. So, here's your motivational activity. These pictures are the different indigenous groups in the Philippines. Identify 3 pictures that belong in Central Philippines. Choose only the letter of the correct answer. Let's now proceed to our first discussant.
Hello everyone, I'm Rhea Martillan and I will discuss the Mangyan group. Mangyan is a generic term that comprises the indigenous peoples of Mindoro Island. The people live in settlements of from 5 to 12 single-family houses perched on slopes overlooking mountain stream. So, Mangyans live in peaceful societies as compared to the head-hunting tribes of North Luzon and the brave, defiant warrior tribes of the South. Social scientists theorize that some societies become peaceful because their system of norms and values reward peaceful behavior, but disapprove of aggressive and impulsive behaviors. And peaceful societies are characterized by the egalitarian social organization without status competition between men and without the asymmetric relationship between men and women. Another theory posits that population adapt, therefore, offering a more logical explanation of why Mangyans preferred to retreat in the hinterlands. They accept peaceful submissiveness when they encounter lowland settlers, missionaries, traders, and government officials. So, ang kanilang tradisyonal na relihiyosong pananaw sa mundo ay pangunahing animistiko, humigit kumulang 10% ang yumakap sa Kristyanismo, parehong Romano, Katolisismo at Evangelical Protestantism. Ang bagong tipan ay naipublish sa 6 sa mga wikang Mangyan.
Palawan Group. There are various ethno-linguistic groups that considered Palawan as home. These are the Tagbanwa, Palawan, Tautbato, and the Bataks. The mountains and the coastal areas serve as their homes. This group have built a village in those areas and have been staying there for quite some time already. Palawan is the largest province in the Philippines, and it is home for several indigenous ethno-linguistic groups such as Tagbanwa, Palawan, Tautbato, Molbog, Batak, Aguntainin, and Cuyunon. These groups of people live in the remote village throughout the province that are found in the mountains and coastal areas. According to the province history, the ancestors of these indigents have occupied Palawan for long before the Malay settlers from the Majapahit Empire of Indonesia arrived in the area during the 12th century.
Aklanon. The Aklanon people are the ethno-linguistic group who live in the province of Aklan. They are part of the wider Bisaya ethno-linguistic group who constitute the largest Filipino ethno-linguistic group. Ang Aklanon ay isang lalawigan ng Pilipinas na matatagpuan sa relihiyon ng Kanlurang Visayas. Kalibo ang kabisera nito. Matatagpuan sa hilagang kanlurang bahagi ng pulo ng Panay ang lalawigan. Ang hangganan nito ay umaabot sa lalawigan ng Antique, sa kanluran at Capiz sa Timog Silangan. Matatagpuan sa hilagan nito ang dagat Sibuyan at ang lalawigan ng Romblon. Aklan is divided into 327 barangays grouped in 17 municipalities. Aklan is most famous for Boracay, a resort island 1 kilometer north from the tip of Panay. It is known for its white sandy beaches and is considered as one of the more prominent destinations in the country.
Boholano. The Boholano people, also called Bolanon, refers to the people who live in the island province of Bohol. They are part of the wider Bisaya ethno-linguistic group, who constitute the largest Filipino ethno-linguistic group. Boholanos are known to be thrifty, hospitable, religious, humble people. Surrounded by big body of water, they became expert seafarers and famous traders. They have always been portrayed in a way that sometimes they abhor.
The term Panay Bukidnon was more recently coined by Dr. Alicia P. Magos, a former UP Visayas professor who spent over 25 years documenting the Sugidanon epic, and which literally translate to people of Panay. The Panay Bukidnon people were previously called Sulud by their neighbors because of the sandwich-like location of their territory, which literally means closet or room. However, because of the socially unfavorable connotation which the Christian lowlander attached to the term Sulud, who take it to mean untamed or wild, many of the mountain people resent being called by this name. In Panay Bukidnon society, all members tend to care deeply about the welfare of one's community. Community gathering strengthens group integration by requiring intensive participation of non-family members in drink fest, weddings, religious celebration, etc.
Good day, students. My name is Lovely Obronyosa. Now I will discuss about the Iskaya people. So the Iskaya is less commonly known as the Visayan Iskaya, is the collective name for the members of cultural minority found in Bohol, Philippines, which is distinguished by its cultural heritage, particularly its literature, language, dress, and religious observances. So the Tribu Iskaya is one of the less visited place in Bohol. They are indigenous group found in the towns of Hierro, Gindulman, Sierra Bullones, and Pilar. The tribe has its own distinct culture, literature, and language. So the most common settlement of the tribe is located in Barangay Taytay, Hierro, Bohol. After Iskaya first came to public attention in 1980, these cultural practices were the subject of intense speculation on the parts of local journalists and amateur historians who made diverse claims about the ethno-linguistic status of the Iskaya people.
Good day, class. I am Erika Embaharo. Now, I will discuss about the Magahat tribes. The Magahats are also known as the Atiman and Bukidnon. There are concentrations of Magahats found in southwestern Negros, Santa Catalina, Bayawan, and Shaton in Negros Oriental and in Negros Occidental. Their language is a mixture of Hiligaynon and Sugbuhanon. Magahats practice Sweden agriculture because their settlements are in mountainous areas. They are food gatherers and good hunters as well. Now, let us talk about the Magahat language. Magahat, also called Southern Binukidnon or Buglas Bukidnon, is a central Philippine language of the mountains of Negros in the Philippines that has been strongly influenced by Cebuano and Hiligaynon.
For your assignment, make an essay about the importance of knowing the different indigenous people in the Philippines and how this group contribute to the Philippine culture in maximum of 3 to 4 paragraphs only. And that's all for today's discussion, and I hope you've learned something today. Thank you for listening.